it is very, very difficult to find Canadians who are passionate about the American-Canadian relationship, okay? You ran a campaign where, it was anti-American, elbows up, me too, it was an anti-American campaign.
Now, that was Ambassador Peter Hoekstra, a person, I think, could very well be qualified for being, after Trump of course, the dumbest person in the disaster administration. No, it's not a campaign, it's a boycott, and a darn good one. A very successful one, a boycott that has started right here in Canada and been adapted around the world. How is that for a success story, eh? Our boycott hits them where it hurts, in their fascistic wallet. Take a listen.
CBC's JP Tasker has been tracking the numbers on how Canadians are choosing to spend their money in the face of the trade war. Okay, JP, let's start with travel. This is one of the things you've been on for a while now. What are we seeing on the travel front?
Yeah, after President Trump launched his trade war and hit us with punishing tariffs, you'll remember Prime Minister Mark Carney said the old relationship with the United States will soon be over. Now we have some hard data to suggest that prophecy is coming true. There has been a quantifiable shift with travel on trade, shopping, and culture. Let's start with cross-border travel in particular. It's not just a slump, it's really in free fall. With trips by automobile in August, it was down 35% in August alone. And when we first started talking about this phenomenon, it was really a land border thing, if you'll remember. Well, now we also have some data on air travel as well. That's down 25% year over year. In August, Air Canada has cut back a number of its U.S. routes, or downsize some of the planes on some of the routes to American cities. But that doesn't mean travel demand has dried up. They've actually added 28 international routes to destinations beyond the United States. Canadians still want to travel. They're going to Europe, the Caribbean, and South America instead.
Right, okay, because we saw basically it was cut in half from pre-pandemic numbers, or pretty close to it. And, my kids wanted to go to Disney. We took them to PEI this summer. The beaches were just as good. Okay, so that's travel. Let's talk about trade, because this is the thing that is being directly hit by this. What's the data showing?
Yeah, Canadian exports to the United States have dropped about 2%. That seems like a small figure on paper, but you know this well. That's about $5 billion, a hit to exporters in this country. So it's dropped off. But businesses have not wasted any time finding new markets or tapping old ones that maybe have atrophied in the years that we've gone all in on the United States. And when you look at the United Kingdom in particular, it's up 63% this year in terms of the number of exports that are going, the value of those exports going to Great Britain and Northern Ireland. In terms of Europe overall, it's up 26%. So we're sending many more minerals, resources, technology, infrastructure, agricultural products. It's all up. So as the U.S. craters, or at least dips a little bit here, craters in terms of the dollar amount, they're finding other markets to sell those goods.
It's important to say, though, with the interconnectedness and the scale of trade, that 2% is probably even a whole lot bigger than the 63.
I will say, though, the UK is now our second largest trading partner as a result of all these shifts. They've actually displaced China. So we are sending more goods to the UK than just about any other jurisdiction on Earth, other than, of course, as you say, the United States.
Okay, that is an interesting development there. Okay, so we see the trade changes, the travel changes, the change in those flows. What other changes you see, what consumers are doing?
Yeah, let's dig into some consumer patterns. We've seen some data from American liquor producers. Of course, we've been following this trend for a long time. We now know sales of United States liquor, American liquor, are down 62% in this country as it stands right now, as of the last quarter for Brown-Forman, a major manufacturer, a major producer of alcohol. You'll know them for Jack Daniels, Woodford Reserve Bourbon. They are sounding the alarm. It's been a huge hit to their bottom line. That's why they're missing their quarterly reports. Loblaw, of course, the country's largest grocer, is also seeing a major dip in terms of the sales of U.S. products. They've taken dozens of U.S. products off their shelves and replaced them with Canadian ones because there is a demand for that homegrown content. They've added more than 100 new Canadian suppliers to their supply chain because there is that demand. Let's also talk about books. This is a really interesting one too. I got some data from Indigo, and actually the sales of Canadian authored books this year are up 25% year over year. So there's real.
So, as our Prime Minister Mark Carney is down in Mexico talking things over, especially with all this ongoing tension with the US, there's a new polling that really shows how Canadians are feeling about the US. It turns out more than half of us feel like our trust in America is broken. There is a sense that the whole relationship has fundamentally changed. And for many, it's not just about the orange idiot himself, but about a broader shift in how we see our neighbor. And even though the trade talks are continuing, a big majority of Canadians, about 71%, are preparing for the long haul. They believe those economic spats with the US are going to be with us for years to come. Also, more than half of Canadians doubt that Canada will be able to get any reasonable deal done with the US because of the in-debt people Canada has to negotiate with in the House of Horrors. Mark Carney knows how important Canada's diversification is. So his Mexico visit is a strong effort to further develop and strengthen the Canada-Mexico trading relationship. This meeting is about connecting Mexico's immense economic opportunity with the global financial system's demand for credible, investable trading and security partners. Think of Mexico as Canada's third biggest trading partner, right after the US and the UK. It used to be China though, but because of all this tariff nonsense, it's not anymore. We exchange a huge amount of goods, about 56 billion worth. That's a really important economic relationship to have. Now, that's a big number, but it's only about 5% of all the trades Canada has with the world. So with all that uncertainty around potential tariffs from the US, now it's a perfect time to think about growing other partnerships. And Mexico is a darn good place to start with. There's so much potential to increase that 5% by trading more things like cars, food, fertilizer, plastic and machinery. A lot of this comes down to good relationships. Things got a little tense a while back when Doug Ford suggested we drop Mexico from our trade deal and just make a deal with the US alone. The worry was that cheap products from China were being relabeled as made in Mexico and then shipped here, which apparently isn't fair to workers in North America. But we came to our senses and realized that teaming up with Mexico is actually a much smarter move, especially with the upcoming renegotiation of CUSMA. It is clear that the orange gangster fascist wants to pull us, Canada and Mexico, over the table. So we must compare notes and work together. Mexico will probably want to coordinate with Canada on how to handle negotiations with the US, especially on sticky topics like tariffs. We both, Canada and Mexico, must be careful not to look like we are ganging up on Trump, but there will be times when it helps to present a united front. The good news is Mexico also wants to trade more with us, with Canada, particularly in the auto industry. They've even started putting their own tariffs on cheap cars from China, which actually shows they are serious about playing it fair. There's a real opportunity here for us to grow our friendship, but the clock is ticking though. Our trade deal is up for review or renegotiation in 2026, and the US is expected to push for rules that requires more products to be made in the US. Canada and Mexico must figure out how we respond to that together. But we also have to be smart about it, because history is important. Last time around, Trump tried to play Canada and Mexico against each other by negotiating unilateral. The orange gangster fascists initially made a side deal with Mexico first and then sistered us in, like take the deal or leave it. But this time around, it is important that Canada and Mexico stick together and compare notes here. This is not just the smartest way, it is the only way this can go. However, it is important to note that what I just explained happened under Mexico's previous president, not Sheinbaum. So I would say the right attitude is probably to be cautiously optimistic. That's why our Prime Minister's visit is so darn important. It's a chance to feel out where the new president stands. See if her approach might be different and understand how she plans to deal with the US. Here's what Carney said at the press conference.
Madam President, thank you for the honor of receiving myself and my ministerial colleagues, our delegation here, the hospitality and the quality of the conversations and the spirit of action have been tremendous. I have to say I'm not surprised. When I was hosting the G7 earlier this year, my first invitation to a leader was to President Sheinbaum. As a reflection of the importance of the Canadian-Mexican relationship, but also the value of your leadership in your council. You did not disappoint at that meeting, and we all took many lessons from your words. I would like to thank you for, again, for the incredible soccer ball that you gave to me in Canada, it's a remarkable piece of art, whose beautiful beadwork represents the inclusivity of Indigenous peoples and the interconnectedness of communities and nations. It sits in my office of a reminder of those deeper values and also of the World Cup that is coming up. Mon invitation au président Sheinbaum reflète le rôle essentiel du Mexique et son impact croissant de l'économie mondiale en pleine transformation, ainsi qu'une occasion immédiate de commencer à rehausser l'amitié solide et historique entre le Canada et le Mexique. Now, from the time we first met, we've spoken of the many opportunities to work together, how to elevate an already strong relationship. After all, Canada and Mexico have had diplomatic ties for over 80 years. We have had free trade between our economies for over 30. And that partnership has improved the livelihoods of our workers and their families and helped make North America the economic envy of the world. Not just our economies, but North America, the economic envy of the world. And we are both committed to our shared partnership with the United States. And we look forward to using the upcoming review of TMEC, USMCA, CUSMA, different acronyms for the same thing, to find ways to make it fairer and more effective. Bilaterally, Canada and Mexico complement each other's strengths, and we stand united in times of challenge and crisis. We're acting to protect our communities against the scourge of fentanyl, and we help each other when disaster strikes. And I want to take this opportunity on behalf of all Canadians to personally thank you, Madam President, and the Mexican people for the support that Mexican firefighters gave to Canada this summer on our prairie provinces, Saskatchewan and Manitoba, saving Canadian lives, protecting their communities. Thank you. Now, over those 3 decades, we've reinforced our trading relationship. We've enabled our businesses to build more together, created new jobs for our citizens, and created the resources for social cohesion and sustainability. Et maintenant, l'économie mondiale traverse une période de profonds changements. Les chaînes d'approvisionnement se fragmentent. Les capitaux se déplacent à la recherche des rendements sûrs et durables. Et les changements climatiques représentent une crise quotidienne pour les entreprises, les travailleurs et les collectivités. At this hinge moment, Canada is deepening our relationships with our long-standing partners. partners that share our values and aspire to a better, fairer, and more sustainable world. Mexico is central to those missions. And our agreement today will expand and deepen that partnership so that the next 30 years hold even greater promise than the last 30 years have delivered. Today, we're beginning a new era of elevated cooperation with a comprehensive strategic partnership. We will scale up our engagement in foreign affairs, in trade and investment, in agriculture, natural resources, in energy, finance, health, the environment, and public safety and security. Cela signifie une collaboration plus étroite et des résultats plus rapides dans les secteurs prioritaires pour faire croître nos économies. We've anchored this partnership in an action plan with 4 pillars: prosperity, security, inclusivity, and sustainability. It's our blueprint to build together. So for prosperity, we'll prioritize the development of strategic infrastructure, including ports, rail, trade, and energy corridors. We'll unlock new opportunities for trade and investment, from energy to agriculture to aerospace. We'll collaborate bilaterally and with the United States to reinforce the strong foundations of our economic integration and our regulatory cooperation, with a view to making North America remaining the most competitive region in the world. And we will strengthen the integration of our agri-food value chains and increase bilateral trade in safe and secure agricultural products. We'll also strengthen our model of controlled and predictable labor migration to meet the unique needs in agriculture, seafood, and processing sectors. As part of our new action plan, we will create a new bilateral security dialogue to combat transnational organized crime, human smuggling, and cybercrime. To promote inclusivity and well-being, we'll work together to foster economies grounded in fair, safe, and equitable work environments. And we'll enhance cooperation in health policy, including addressing health insecurity, infectious diseases, and substance abuse. Both President Sheinbaum and I and our citizens have long recognized that addressing climate change is both a moral duty and a commercial imperative. And accordingly, Canada and Mexico will deepen our cooperation in climate and conservation, with action to protect wildlife, reduce emissions, sustainably manage our freshwater resources. We'll explore cooperation opportunities in emission reductions, investments in renewables, and the development of smart grids. Now, it's a long list, but it's a subset of what we intend to do. So our ministers and our officials will begin work straight away. For example, our Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food will visit Mexico next month to discuss those opportunities in agricultural trade. Minister LeBlanc will lead a trade mission to Mexico shortly thereafter to build on immediate opportunities in trade and investment. And of course, in 9 months, the world's game will come to our continent. Canada, Mexico, and the United States co-hosting the World Cup. 48 nations, 16 cities, millions of fans, biggest tournament in history. Now, it's a little new for Canada. For Mexico, it's a return to greatness. Your 3rd time hosting the World Cup after 2 tournaments filled with iconic moments. Pelé lifting the Jules Rimet trophy in the Azteca. Maradona scoring one of 2 goals of the century in '86. The hand of God scoring the other. The economic boost from the World Cup will go far beyond the field. In Canada alone, it will add $2 billion to our economy. We'll build infrastructure that will last long after the last whistle. Et nos cultures mises en valeur sur la plus grande scène mondiale. Et dans un monde divisé, nous pourrons être unis par l'amour du beau jeu. I'm pleased to share that Adam Van Koeverden, Canada's Secretary of State for Sport, will serve as our FIFA Sherpa to support cooperation coordination with Mexico and the United States ahead of the World Cup. Let me conclude just by observing what's obvious but what's essential. We are both undertaking massive transformations of our economy. Plan Mexico, Canada strong. Our efforts will be strengthened by working together. As President Sheinbaum said at the G7 summit, and I quote, "In an interdependent world, no country can isolate itself." And as your predecessor, one of your predecessors, Benito Juarez, counseled, "Entre los individuos como entre las naciones, el respeto al derecho ajeno es la paz." And if I butchered that too much for the translator, among individuals as amongst nations, respect for the rights of others is peace. And it's by balancing this respect for sovereignty and the belief in cooperation that Canada and Mexico will build together for the benefit of our peoples. Thank you, President Sheinbaum. Merci beaucoup. Gracias.
Thank you so much.
Well, we might not agree on everything, but the most important goal right now is to make sure we are on the same page, strategy-wise. We need to move careful so we don't give the US any reasons to scrap the whole deal altogether. We need to be united so that Canada doesn't end up getting sidelined again. And here is yet another great reason to strengthen our ties with Mexico. Mexico is a lower cost manufacturing powerhouse. This is a huge opportunity for Canada. By working more closely with Mexico, we can help to balance out the world's reliance on China for making things. It is about creating more options and building stronger, more resilient supply chains right here in North America. So, what does all that end up to? Well, in a nutshell, teaming up with Mexico isn't just a good idea, it is a necessary one, because we can't trust the US anymore, and we are expecting to be challenged by them for years. This highlights exactly why we need to diversify our friendships. As we saw, there's huge potential to grow our trade with Mexico beyond its current levels. And they are just as motivated as we are to make this happen. The key takeaway from the past is that we have to be smart and coordinate this time around, ensuring we are strong partners so the orange gangster can't take advantage of us or Mexico. Ultimately, by investigating in this partnership, we are not just protecting ourselves from uncertainty with the US, but we are also building a more resilient North American economy. Strengthening our bond with Mexico, a low-cost manufacturing hub, helps balance global reliance on China and building a stronger, more secure future for both of our countries. The road ahead with the US might be a bumpy one, but having a reliable partner in the passenger seat makes this journey a lot less daunting. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about the upcoming CUSMA renegotiation. For more commentaries on the real news, facts and viewpoints to counterbalance the demagogy of the right-wing media, please like and subscribe. It goes a long way to help the channel. Till next time, I'm Wilfried Lemkuller from Europe Curious.
We spent so many nights thinking how you did us wrong. Now we've banded all together. Your tariff made us strong, and so you know you're not so great. There's not a snowball's chance in hell will be your 51st state. You really need our resources far more than we need you, so now regret it. When we turn off your lights and it does. We will survive. As long as we can think and what we know is stay alive. We have all we really need. We can live without your greed. We will survive. We will survive. There's bloodshed. It's turning out. We're not that fledgling little country stealing all of you. We are now a nation proud that is happy to be free. You didn't realize you gave us our own identity, so now just go. We will survive. As long as we can think and work, we know stay alive. Yeah, but all we really need, we can live without your greed. We will survive. We will survive. We will survive.
51st state, my fucking ass. Go on, Canada.